attack took place. This time, it will be for effect. Would that deter President Trump, or do you agree that President Trump will not get scared? This will not weigh on his mind. If he has to go in, he will go in.
I don't think there will be a demonstration attack on Iran in token support of protests. Either there will be an overwhelming exercise of force against Iran or none at all. The Trump administration is very interested in regime change in Iran. That much is clear. There's no appetite for actual American soldiers in Iran. So either there will be some kind of truly overwhelming attack on the entire regime all at once, or there will be nothing. And for that overwhelming attack, the chess pieces are not yet in place.
Okay. Admiral Sinha, in the 12-day war in 2025, both US and Israel, they were able to destroy a major part of Iran's air defense system, their missile manufacturing and launch capabilities. So in your appreciation, how potent are Iranian forces today? Can they counter Israel, America, and an attack that may come from in waves from multiple directions, perhaps more intense than the 12-day war?
I would think yes, because the surface-to-air missile system and SSM systems are very, very strong as far as Iran is concerned. But don't forget, it does not only have to destroy the incoming missile, it can also fire missile and damage the stations from where these aircraft are taking off. Number one. The second thing I wanted to tell you at that time, Gaurav, that I have been sort of following this news from various sources, and there is one school of thought that President Trump has been assured by these three countries, Qatar, Turkey and Saudi, that whatever end result he wants, it will happen. So he doesn't have to attack and do this killing, because that will invite a very serious response from Iran. And therefore I would think that now the administration people are thinking on those lines as to how do we. I also believe that what is it that these three countries will give in lieu to President Trump. So that is one aspect which not very clear to me. Is it compensation by some more oil or some more money or whatever? If that happens, then we are in a very different ballgame.
Okay, Gino Victoria Duabi, what is the end result that the people of Iran want? They just want Ayatollah Ali Khamenei to go. They want an overall regime change. When you speak to people in different parts of Iran, and whether it's the Kurdish people or the Persians there, what is it that they're looking at? The revolutionaries, the people on the streets, do they want Reza Pahlavi to come back, or is there a different system that they're looking at?
Yes, I'll answer that really quickly. I just want to say something really important. Yes, there are IRGC and there are multiple forces within the Iranian regime, but something that we need to also talk about is that the Iranian regime within itself is at a war with each other. They have never been this weak ever before. The currency has never been so low. It's actually the value of Iranian rial is at zero. So the Islamic Republic and the commanders and people inside of this regime are also cracking down within sight. And that is also important to have in mind when talking about if this regime might fall or not, which is a very, very, very important factor. Besides that, the Iranian people, when they go to the streets because they want the entire system of Islamic Republic to fall. The entire system is built on hatred, terrorism, not only against its own people, but the entire region. And we have seen the last couple of years how that has unfolded, and also in the Western countries. Even the Iranian people, Kurds, and other ethnic minorities are in danger just to speak against the Islamic Republic. So you ask me, when you ask me why the Iranian people are protesting, they are protesting for self-determination. The Kurds are definitely protesting for other things too, like the Baluchis, like the Azeris, the Turks, the Arabs, and so on. So there are multiple reasons that causes this much resistance against the Islamic Republic. The Kurds have their own path, the Baluch have their
Yes.
own path. But one thing is very, very clear is that the regime must go and there must be a democratic system that is based on its very core principles.
Fair enough. But Sandeep, are there any indications, and we've been looking at Iran very closely, are there any indications beyond what appears from the West that the regime is at its weakest, perhaps, with the currency collapsing, with internal differences coming out, or is the regime well and truly in control? The fact that they've been able to jail a very large number of protesters. Some say, Sandeep, more than 20,000 have been jailed, more than 3,000 have been executed / killed, 800 are on death row. Sandeep, what are you picking up? The military strength and the overall strength of the regime?
Well, Gaurav, the regime is at its weakest since 1979. There's no two ways about it. It's never been so bad for Iran. Their entire network of proxies has collapsed. Iran is actually, for the last 1 year, it's been pretty much naked, if you look at it. It has nothing much to fall back upon. Its allies, China and Russia, they have their own troubles. They're not able to directly help the Iranian regime. So it's only a matter of time, Gaurav, if this continues, this kind of pressure continues, it's only a matter of time before the regime collapses. There's no regime that can continue to take this kind of pressure, especially economic factors. While militarily, Iran is a missile superpower, as you've been showing there. It's got the kind of missiles that several countries, even the United States is copying some of the Iranian drones. I mean, that's how advanced they are. But, drones and missiles can't feed the people at the end of the day, Gaurav. And that is something that a lot of dictatorships in the region have realized.
As a sociologist, Professor Bebons, is that also your understanding? If this pressure is maintained, whether by war or by other means, including, countries like Saudi Arabia, Turkey, assuring or reassuring Americans without war, the same aim can be achieved. You think the regime can collapse?
The sociology of revolution is very clear. Any regime that retains the loyalty of the armed forces and is willing to use them to kill its own citizens can maintain power. If you contrast the Arab Spring and the fact that in Egypt, Mubarak was unwilling or unable to get the military to kill 10,000 people in Tahrir Square, and Mubarak was overthrown. Contrast that with China and Tiananmen Square, which is a very different situation. In China, there was no reluctance about the army rolling tanks over civilians, and they restored order. Regime after regime has been able to survive. North Korea has been able to survive for this reason, loyalty of the military and the military willingness to kill civilians. When the military is unwilling to execute those kind of orders, then the regime's days are numbered.
Very interesting point. And Admiral Sinha, your reading of the forces that are directly loyal to the Ayatollah in Iran, will they be willing to kill their own people? Will they be willing to withstand this? Or perhaps also inflict pain? Because in case they were to inflict pain on the Americans in the region, disrupt trade, it could also change dynamics. How would you read this?
Well, whatever is my experience after having met them number of times in the past, they are very, very loyal to the Ayatollah, and I don't think that they're going to give up on that because they believe that he is doing what he's supposed to do and keeping Iran's own prestige high in the in the scale of things in the Middle East and also in the world. So I think that they will do anything to support the Ayatollah, and I don't think that if you hear that one odd guy has defected or one odd guy has given up, they are only exceptions, but they don't prove the law really.
Okay. Gino Victoria Duabi, Britain and France are talking about imposing additional sanctions on Iran. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, he's cautioned that any strikes on Iran could actually add volatility to an already combustible situation. UN is saying exercise maximum restraint. Will this embolden the Ayatollah regime and those loyal to him? And your reading of the Al-Quds Force, the IRGC, the other internal intelligence agencies, do they remain very loyal to the Ayatollah?
Yes, because they are not loyal to a belief that is very practical. They are loyal and have vowed to an ideology that they truly believe in, and especially they're high ranked. They have been tested throughout the decades before being put in positions that where they can become commanders or anything important. And that's why I actually also indicated that there might be a crackdown within inside of the regime, because you know, a lot of commanders, highly important commanders, were actually targeted in July 2025, which we could see how the regime communicated afterwards were contrary to the communication they did minutes before. So we see that are in communication and mistrust within the regime. I don't know if sanctions work anymore. I think that if the European countries want to do anything for the Iranian people, they should start isolating the regime by, you know, closing down the embassies, institution where they actually work, and freeze their
Sandeep,
assets.
the 30 seconds that I have on this part of the show, Sandeep, I want to understand. Iran was able to overwhelm Israel's Iron Dome in 2025. Iran then had claimed it wasn't using its latest generation weapons and missiles. It has supersonic weapons. It has hypersonic weapons. Is it a fight where the Americans and the Israelis would also think twice before going all out, because it could disrupt the region, it could disrupt the world?
Absolutely, Gaurav. You know, Iran doesn't have much of an air force. It's got a ragtag air force, but it's got a first-rate hypersonic and a ballistic missile force, and it compensates for that lack of an air force with a very, very first-rate ballistic missile force. And that is something that countries in the region are extremely wary of. All the countries, the Gulf countries that do not want the US to use their airspace, are pretty much worried about a Iranian retaliatory strike that could land on their countries. And this goes for Israel as well, because as we've seen in the past, there have been several ballistic missiles that have gone through the Iron Dome that Israel had set
and
up
those
there.
were pinpoint targeted attacks.
Absolutely.
30 seconds, Professor Bebons, there's one question. Theocracy. Because Iran's a theocracy, is it easier for them to cling on to power because they bring in religion compared to an autocracy, perhaps compared to Venezuela?
No, no military is a theocracy. A military is a professional service, and militaries will make decisions based on their own calculations, not based on adherence to a religious leadership.
Okay, except in Iran was my question, because where they claim loyalty to Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, or in China where they claim loyalty to the political party. But that's a debate perhaps for another time, which we shall take forward in the days and weeks ahead. I've run out of time on this part of the show. There's lots more coming up on the other side of a short break. To all my guests, many thanks for joining me. That is all we have for you on Battle Cry this evening.